Okay, we're doing the midweek magic this week. All will be one constructed. We've done the jump-in events, we've done the drafts, we've got some cards. I haven't opened my packs yet. I still have 26 packs to open. I'm not going to open them just for this event, because if I do that, it might ruin my plan. If I do some more quick drafts or premier drafts, and I want to benefit from the duplicate protection of opening my packs when I want to, I'm not going to open them yet. I'm just going to see what I can make out of the jump-in cards and the draft cards that I've done. So, let's start the event. Okay, so I've had a look at the different cards that I have from some of these events, and I'm going to see if this works, a green and black poison style deck. So our main cards in this that are going to do the work for us, we have Necrogen Rotpriest, which is toxic 2 in itself, can give creatures with toxic death touch if we want to, and whenever a creature with toxic does combat damage, the player gets an additional poison counter. So instead of toxic 2, it's basically toxic 3. Toxic 1 is now toxic 2, and so on, but only for combat damage. So we want to be able to do some combat damage with some of our creatures with toxic. So we have Bloated Contaminator, which has trample. We have Pestilent Siphoner, which has flying, which can hopefully get around things. And we have Thrun, Breaker of Silence, who does not have toxic unless we can equip a Prosthetic Injector onto him and give him toxic 1 as well. So he'll have trample and indestructible and toxic. So maybe that'll work out, maybe it won't. We'll see what we can do with that. We also have quite a lot of removal in the deck, such as Whisper of the Dross, which is -1/-1. Doesn't do very much itself, but it does proliferate as well. We have Maze Skull Bomb, which will draw cards and give something trample. So if we have a toxic creature like Rotpriest, trying to do some damage, giving it trample is going to help us as well. Ivar's Stand to protect our creatures. Anoint with Affliction will remove an opponent's creature if it has mana value 3 or less, or any value if we have 3 poison counters on the opponent. Drown in Ichor will give a creature -4/-4 and proliferate. We have Infectious Bite that will do damage to an opponent's creature and give a poison counter, and Ruthless Predation, which is a fight spell, which also gives our creature +1/+2. The reason why we have a lot of things that can target creatures in this way is because we have 4 Rotpriests, Venerated Rotpriests that is, because we have Necrogen Rotpriests and we have Venerated Rotpriests. So with Venerated Rotpriest, we could target our own Rotpriest with a Whisper of the Dross if we really wanted to, and we could get a poison counter on the opponent by doing that and proliferate as well. So this is half and half an aggro-y trample attack toxic deck and a Rotpriest protection, get toxic poison counters on the opponent by casting things on our own creatures. I don't know. It's a bit of a mix of things, but this is what I have from the events that I've done, and we're just going to see how it does. So let's get started. Oh, also we have a couple of Hunter Maze lands in here and Terramorphic Expanse. The reason why we want to have that is Hunter's Maze will help draw cards later on if we get too many lands, and most of our things only need 1 or 2, so it's pretty easy for us to end up with too many lands. We can sacrifice something and draw an extra card, which is going to help. And also Terramorphic Expanse, which is our Evolving Wilds style land, because what that will help us do is thin the deck out. So if we get a Terramorphic Expanse at the beginning, we sacrifice that, put it in the graveyard, and draw another land out of our deck. So now we have less lands, or fewer lands, left in the deck, so we're more likely to draw a different card, a useful card, not a land. So let's see how it does. I haven't tested it out yet, so this is definitely a quick experiment. We're going to see how it does in the games. After the games, I'll go through some other tips on what you can do to build the best deck you can out of whatever cards you happen to have. And I don't know what cards you have, so it's going to be general advice, but I think it's going to be really helpful for you. Okay, so get on with the games. Okay, 2 lands. Not a great start. Let's mulligan. I don't like to mulligan, but seems okay. So let's put Thrun away for now and just go full on Rotpriest to start with. So I don't know what other people are likely to have, but I have a feeling that in general we are going to see quite a lot of toxic aggro stuff. That's what I think we're going to see. Okay, people don't like Rotpriests. Good. Easy win. Just put 4 Rotpriests in your deck and hope you draw a couple of them at the beginning and the opponent will just give up straight away. Okay, that's the first win. Not bad. Okay. Starting with... Again, I'm going to mulligan. I need some creatures to start with. I'm not going to do much without creatures. We're going to keep this. So we've got... What should we put away? Maybe the Injector. We want to get Bloated Contaminator out on turn 3. Hopefully get Rotpriest out on turn 4 and attack with a Contaminator. So protection might be good. Or give it an extra toxic 1. I'll give it toxic 2. I'll do 3 poison counters, then proliferate. Or we can make sure it has protection. Yeah, I think we'll go with the protection. So, first of all, let's get this out. And get ourselves another forest. So it's thinning the deck out slightly. Toxic Death Touch, okay. Proliferate, but we don't want to proliferate until we have something to proliferate with. There would be one way to remove a Death Touch threat that we don't want. Giant Echo is a sorcery, so we can't even do it as a surprise. Okay. Contaminator out on 3. Maybe they can kill it. Maybe they have a drown as well. They can still attack with a Death Touch. They can still attack with both. I am not blocking that. Hive Master. Okay, so I would like to do the Rotpriest, but I think what I'm going to have to do is attack first. They can do that if they want. They're going to try and get as many poison counters on me as quickly as possible. Can proliferate. So we're going to give this... Oh wait, we could do Rotpriest now. We could. Still going to get 2 poison counters on us if we do that. Or we can get rid of Death Touch for now. Proliferate. And we're going to keep Whisper of the Dross and Tyvar Stand in reserve just in case. We can Whisper and get rid of the Siphoner hopefully. Then next turn put out Rotpriest and attack again with the Contaminator. And that will get us another 3 poison counters on the opponent. Blightbelly Rat, okay. Are they going to attack? Okay, well let's get rid of the flying one. Proliferate again. Okay. So we're not racing for life total, we are just racing for poison counters, which is kind of what I expect from a Phyrexia constructed event. Rotpriest, okay, Rotpriest, the other Rotpriest. They might have a Whisper, even if they do. Still going to do damage to them, get 3 more poison counters. And proliferate. So next turn we could do Rotpriest and Tyvar Stand to get another poison counter on the opponent. We leave it as a surprise. So they're probably not going to attack, so I don't want to lose anything. Okay, so we can do Rotpriest. If we do, as in the Necrogen Rotpriest, they should... Oh, it's so confusing. We could go with the Rotpriest here, but we're not going to do that. We're going to put out the a little Rotpriest. And I am going to attack with just that one. Sure. So they can block. They can think they're not going to get any damage on me. No. All I can do then is give this X equals 2. Targeting one of my creatures. So the little Rotpriest is going to put another poison counter on. We're going to do the damage, which is going to do 2 more poison counters anyway, but even if it didn't, we could then proliferate. So, not bad. Toxic aggro. Seems to work. Okay, game 3 of 3. Normally I'll just play Midweek Magic for the sake of the 2 rare wild cards, not the 2 rare individual card rewards that you get, not wild cards. Normally that's what I would do, but because I'm having so much fun with this toxic aggro stuff, I'm going to keep going. So let's go with Swamp and put out the Skull Bomb. Next turn we're doing Siphoner. Hopefully we can start getting some... Ah, it's flying. And it can come back, which is a pain, but no problem. We can remove it with Whisper of the Dross if we need to. Maybe they'll attack me and not have it to block. It's 3. Okay. They're going full on poison on me. Okay. Not surprising. Lots of poison, lots of toxic. Okay. So, do I want to give anything trample? No, I think I'm rather just draw a card for now. Okay. So I could Whisper and get rid of this. Not ideal, but maybe if we get 2 of these Necrogen Rotpriests out, they can't remove them because they're 1/5s and they're kind of difficult to get rid of. Maybe we'll have a chance. Probably a bit early to get rid of this, but poison counters can really start to grow, especially with blue and black is going to have quite a lot of proliferating, which I know will bring this back anyway. Oh, there you go, they're proliferating anyway. Okay. Still can't put it out again. Don't quite have the right lands for that. Okay, so Rotpriest, and we can fight if we want to next turn. But to be honest, if we can attack with both Rotpriests. It's going to be 4 poison counters for 1 hit, right? Not bad, they're dead next turn. Unless they can remove one. They must have something to remove one. If not, then they're going to get 1 Rotpriest. One Venerated Rotpriest. Okay, sure. And I can attack again, so they're probably going to block if I go with that. So let's fight. Let's take them out. Poison counter. They're on 5. I'm going to hit with this. And I'm going to do 3 more. So they're going to be on 8. And then what they're not expecting is that I'm going to, you know, just say good game now. Because, yeah, let's target myself. And submit. There's those poison counters again. So, 3 wins in 3 games with a Golgari Poison deck that I just threw together. Let's have a look at the deck list again. And how long did it take us to win that? Actually, not very long at all. What did I not use? I didn't actually have to use Thrun at all. Thrun didn't even get a chance to come out. Necrogen Rotpriest was the star of those games by far. And I feel like maybe it's underrated. Not bad for an uncommon. It's not legendary. If you had 4 of these out, every toxic creature that does combat damage to the opponent will do an extra 4 poison counters on them. And if you can just attack with these, they have toxic too anyway. It's great. They do lots of poison counters really quickly. And obviously the Venerated Rotpriest. You can get this in the Virulent pack from the Jump-In events, which is the green and black pack. Or obviously you can get these from draft events. Ruthless, Predation, Infectious Bite, Prosthetic Injector. These have all come from the draft events that I've done, the quick drafts. In fact, 2 Thruns also from the quick draft events that I've done. So none of these cards needed me to use any of my wild cards. I don't have very many at the moment because I keep using them up. But this didn't require any of those wild cards. It didn't require me to open any packs at all. So you can still do the midweek magic if you haven't opened any packs. If you've just done some draft events and some jump-in events, you can get enough to get those 2 or 3 wins on midweek magic. Get your 2 rare individual card rewards and your card style if you want to get the 3rd one. And it doesn't have to take more than like 10 or 15 minutes to get those 3 wins. So that worked out pretty well for me now, but let's have a look at what other decks I could possibly make from the cards I've already collected from Phyrexia and give you some general advice on making your own Phyrexian decks. So when you're making a deck for yourself, if you want to just practice this in your normal deck creation screen rather than going to the actual Midweek Magic event, just click on the Phyrexia All-Be-One standard selection there, so it will show you all cards that you have collected from Phyrexia. We could have a look at the rares and mythics. In fact, maybe that's what I'd do first. Let's just have a look at the rares and mythics I have. So these are the ones that I've collected from my jump-in events and my draft events that I've done. So these are all the rares and mythics. So if you do the same thing, if you have a look at the rares and mythics that you've collected from the events that you've done so far, and have a look if there's any good rares or mythics that work well together. So looking at the rares and mythics that I have, I could do something with Elesh Norn. The Eternal Wanderer is a really good planeswalker. Mondrak is great in token decks. You could use Jace for milling decks, and it works pretty well even by itself. Or if you have Tekuthal Inquiry Dominus, great for proliferation decks. Or you could use Urabrusk's Forge in some kind of red aggro deck. I think that might be quite fun. Or you might have something like Jorkadeen, which will work really well in equipment style decks. Or if you have Rhea Evor, works really well in a black and white toxic corrupted style poison deck. So you can build a pretty good deck around any of these rares or mythics. And then you can have a look at all the other cards you have, either just the commons and uncommons by themselves, or just look at all the cards and just see what else you can put together that will work really well for relatively quick battles, because with the midweek magic, all you're really looking for is to get those wins really quickly. It doesn't actually really matter if you lose 5 games, as long as you win 2. It's not ranked, so you're not going to be missing out on anything. So what you would want and what you're most likely to be facing most of the time will be some kind of cheap aggro deck, something with lots of Crawling Chorus and maybe some Jawbone Duelists and Incisor Gliders. In fact, if you made a deck that had nothing other than Crawling Chorus, Duelist of Deep Faith, Jawbone Duelist, Incisor Glider, maybe an Infested Flesh Cutter, and some Zealot's Conviction for a bit of a special trick, and maybe an Anax Sentries for some removal, extra toxic, Cleansing Raptors for a bit more evasion, Charge of the Mites for some flexibility, and some Ossifications or Planar Disruptions for removing the opponent's creatures and getting them out the way. Even if you just did that and didn't have any other rares or mythics or any special cards, I think you'd probably do pretty well with that. And if you happen to have something along the lines of an Apostle of Invasion that you can throw in as well, if you have Corrupted, suddenly you have a 4/4 flying double striker. And that's still only an uncommon, so that doesn't even require any rares or mythics. I think a mono white toxic aggro deck like that would work pretty well, and Incisor Glider is going to help you get lots of damage on the opponent, If you've only managed to get 3 or more poison counters, but you're not going to make it to 10, it's still going to help you do a lot of damage. If you happen to have a lot of red cards, then you could try something like some Hex Gold Slashes, nice, easy, cheap removal. Some Blazing Crescendos for a battle trick that's going to help you basically play another card, effectively draw another card afterwards. And some cheap common or uncommon trample or hasty little creatures. Maybe something like Cacophony Scamp that can sacrifice itself once it does combat damage to a player and then do damage equal to its power to any target. So you can attack, sacrifice it and remove something. You could even put maybe Blazing Crescendo onto a Cacophony Scamp. It's suddenly a 4/2, and when it hits, you could sacrifice it and do another 4 damage to the opponent. One way to finish them off when you're attacking with a 1/1 and they have 8 life points left, you can get rid of them with a 1/1 and a Blazing Crescendo. You could probably also do pretty well with a red aggro deck with Bolt Charges in there. And my new personal favourite finisher, Hazardous Blast. If you have some big red creatures and you can't manage to break through the opponent's defences because they have lots of creatures out, just throw in a Hazardous Blast. Suddenly they can't block everything. You attack with all and you're probably done. So there's lots of other deck types obviously you can make using mostly common and uncommon cards from Phyrexia if you've got them from the jump-in events and the draft events. I'll put a couple of copied and paste deck lists in the description below. So the best way to use the deck list in the description is to copy and paste it, have a look, see if you have those cards already from the events that you've done, and if you haven't, just swap them out and see what you can fill in with what you've got in your collection so far. And if you don't think you have enough in your collection to play the Midweek Magic event, then you could have a look at the jump-in events or the draft events and open one of those, get started on those just to get a bit more in your collection, and then just improve whatever deck you can make in that event and add what you can to it and put that in the Midweek Magic. That'd probably still do a pretty good job for you. Even if it hasn't got a high win rate, you'll probably get those 2 rares anyway. If you're happy that you're done with draft events, you've done enough of them, you don't want to do any more, then you can just start opening your packs if that's what you want to do and see what other things you get from those packs. So if you've taken part in the Midweek Magic event and you've done pretty well with it, let me know in the comments below what kind of deck you've used and if you've got those cards from draft events, jump-ins, or if you've just opened your packs to make the best deck you can and used your wild cards if you needed them. I'd love to know what you've used and how well it's worked for you and what you've seen other people use maybe. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video.